Hi everyone, and welcome to week 11. In our problem set today, we're going to look at allocating service costs to a profit center. So we're working within the same company, but we want to be able to allocate certain costs for services to the different profit centers. Let's go ahead and get started. This one is Varney Corporation. They manufacture electronics and comms, and what they want to do is allocate some service department cost to one of their profit centers. They give us some information regarding the different services that they provide, the cost drivers, the budgeted cost, and the budgeted quantity of services. They also give us a little bit more information here as to how all of these costs need to be allocated. They want us to do two things. They want us to first compute the service allocation rate for each of the services, and then they want us to compute the allocation of the services to COM for the month of August. Let's step through these additional assumptions that factor into our calculation. So the profit center COM, which is the communication system, they have 3,900 employees. Of those 3,900 employees, 30% are office employees. All of the office employees have been issued a smartphone, and 95% of them have a computer on the network. Of those that have a computer on the network, 90% of those employees also have an email account. The average number of help desk calls is 0.7 per individual with a computer. And then the last piece of information is that there are 440 additional printers, servers, and peripherals on the network beyond the personal computers. Okay, so the first question, or the first request, is to compute the service allocation rate for each of the services that are being provided for August. So we have our service category. We have 4 different categories: help desk, network center, electronic mail, and smartphone support. These are the cost drivers. Again, our budgeted cost, and we're pulling this from the information that was provided to us, and then our budgeted quantity of services. So calculating the allocation rate is pretty straightforward. We're just going to take our budgeted cost and we're going to divide it by the budgeted quantity of services. So what they're saying here is typically in a month we receive 3,000 calls at the help desk, and it costs us $51,000, or that's what we believe it's going to cost us for the month of August. So the allocation rate is simply taking that budgeted cost and dividing it by the number of projected calls that they believe they'll get in August. And we did this for all of the different categories. So we have $17 for the help desk, $77 for the network center, $34 for electronic mail, and $34 for smartphone support. All right, now we want to go to this next portion. We want to compute the allocation of the services, or the cost of the services, to the profit center. So we went ahead and set it up the same way. We have our 4 categories, but then we needed to calculate just the office employees. So I did that by taking the 3,900 employees, and we saw that up here at the top, and I multiplied it by 30%, because 30% of all of the employees are office employees. So we know that the office employees that we're going to start with are 1,170 employees. I have a column for employees with computers and email, the number of help desk calls, and we also have additional equipment, and those are the peripherals that they talked about. Okay, so with the computer, we know that we start with 1,170 employees. Of those 1,170 employees, 95% have a computer. Of this number, and if we were to calculate that out, it would be 1,170 times the 95%. So out of that 1,170, that gives us 1,111. We know that 90% of those people have a computer and email. So we can multiply that times the email. So we now know that some of these costs that we're going to compute are based on just 1,000 people. We're actually going to walk through which one requires us to factor in computer and email. All right. So here we go. We want to know how much of that total cost we need to allocate over for the help desk. I pulled the rate down from here. We've already calculated that. And this is our total allocation costs. So how did I get that? Well, this one says that for the help desk, we're going to start with 1,170, which we talked about. And if you look right here, this talks about the average number of help desk calls were based on 0.7 calls per individual with a computer. So that means I need to take my universe, which is 1,170, and I need to factor in the fact that, only 95% of people have a computer. And then I want to multiply that by the 0.7 calls per individual with a computer. And then finally, I want to multiply it by the allocation method or rate, which is $17. That gives me $13,226. With change, if we wanted to round it up, we could say that it's $13,227. But what about the network center? So with the network center, we know that we need to factor in the additional equipment. So I'm just going to highlight that. There we go. So we want to factor in this additional equipment. So again, I start with my universe of 1,170. I want to only bring in those people who already have a computer. But then I also somehow need to factor in this 440. So if you look at the formula that I have, and I'm going to slide over just a little bit. There we go. You can see that I'm multiplying my universe of 1,170 by the 95%, and I want to close my parentheses. Then I want to add in the 440 because I have 440 additional equipment to factor in. And then I want to close my parentheses around that and multiply it by the rate of $77. If I wanted to do this with interim calculations, then again, I can grab my my universe and I want to multiply it by just the 95%. There you go. Now I want to add in my 440. And this right here one moment, I multiplied that. Let's add it this time. There we go. Now I have 1,551 devices that I have to be concerned with. And now I want to multiply that 1,551 devices by my allocation rate. So that, and I'm going to multiply it by my allocation rate. And make this a dollar sign, and we can see that we come up with the same amount of money. Let's go ahead and highlight that again so that you can see those two numbers. There we go. Now, what about the electronic mail? So we know that with the electronic mail, it says that 90% of employees with a computer also have electronic mail or email. So I first want to pick up my universe of 1,170, multiply it by the 95% for the computer, multiply it again by the 90% for the email, and then finish it off by multiplying that number with the allocation rate of $34. And that gives me $34,011. Now the final one is the smartphone support. So with the smartphone support, let's go all the way back up here, and we see that all of the office employees have been issued a smartphone. So with this one, it's much simpler. We're now taking our full universe here of office employees, and we're multiplying it by that allocation rate. Now we can look at the total cost that will be charged to the COM system. And we're doing that by summing these numbers. And I'm going to highlight this a little bit differently so that you can see it. There we go, in red. So the communications system sector will receive a charge of $206,484.25 for the month of August. So with all of this, the reason I wanted to highlight this type of problem set is that as you're calculating all of this, it makes it easier to set it up in table format so that as you pull in all of this information up here, this additional information or additional assumptions, it makes it easier for you to pull the thread on just the information that you need. So like I said, for the help desk, the information I needed were the office employees who had computers. For the network, I needed the office employees with computers, plus I had to add in the peripherals. With this one, I needed office employees with a computer and an email account. So whenever you find yourself working on a problem set that has a lot of assumptions, again, go ahead and set it up in a table, and it should allow you to calculate it really quickly and double check your amounts. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.